Rapper Wong, thank you so much for agreeing to this interview. It means a ton. I am a huge fan. Just for our students that might be watching who one day hope to become as successful as you, what are your thoughts on simple interest? Oh, yeah. Simple interest. I mean, my interests include, writing new rap lyrics, prepping the new merch for the next track. Sometimes I like doing math. Those are the basics. I was actually asking about money. Like how when you deposit money after a certain amount of time, you'll gain interest. Oh, you mean money? I mean, yeah, I like that too. Alright class, today we are going to be talking about simple interest, not interest as in the things that you like, although money is a lot of fun. We're talking about interest, which is the amount of money you earn when you deposit some money into the bank. So you should have your notes 8B-6. Now the first thing you'll notice is the formula for simple interest, and that is I equals PRT. And so this means interest equals the principal times the rate times the time. So we are going to talk a little bit about how to calculate interest today. So like I said earlier, I is interest, and that stands for the additional money earned. So this is a good thing, how much extra money you get added on to what you have. P stands for principal. Now this isn't the principal like Miss Hujay. This is the original amount of money. So what you started with, how much you put into the bank to start with. R stands for the rate. So the rate at which you gain interest. And the rate must be a decimal. When you plug it into the equation, it must be a decimal. But in most problems, when they give you an interest problem, it will give it to you in a percent. So you need to convert from a percent Now, how do we do that? If you remember, when we go from percents to decimal, it's the same thing as dividing by 100, because percent means per 100. So if you divide by 100, that's the same thing as moving the decimal place 2 places to the left. So let's say, for example, you have 5%. Two ways you could do this. You could do 5 divided by 100, which would give you, you plug this into your calculator, 0.05. Or the shortcut is to just take this number, we have the number 5, the decimal is originally behind the 5, and then move it 2 places to the left. So you move it 1 place over, you move another place over, and then you add a 0. So either way, you get 5% equals 0.05. So every time you have a rate and it's a percent, make sure that you convert it to a decimal. Now we have T, which represents time. And the time has to be in years. So in terms of simple interest, you only accrue it in years. So make sure that you're looking at the time and it says in years. Alright, let's look at example number 1. It says, Miss Wong has $2,000 in the bank, gaining interest at 2.5% over 4 years. How much interest does she earn? So remember, our formula for simple interest is I equals PRT. Principal times the rate times the time. Now, let's go ahead and identify what each of these things are in this word problem. Miss Wong has $2,000 in the bank. That's how much she's starting with. So that is going to be our P. That's our principal. Now it says gaining interest at 2.5% over 4 years. 2.5% is our rate, and then 4 years is our time. Now, before we can plug all of this in, remember that your rate has to be in a decimal, not a percent. So we're going to take this down here, 2.5%. Remember, in order to convert it to a decimal, we're moving the decimal place 2 places to the left. So we have 2.5. We take this decimal, move it 2 places to the left. We get 0.025 as our rate. So now all you have to do is plug it in. You can stick it in your calculator. We have I equals P, which is 2,000, times the rate, which is 0.025, times the time, 4 years. After calculating, we find out that the interest is $200. That's it. Let's look at the second example. Mr. Cohens has $10,000 in a savings account, gaining interest at 5% over 10 years. How much does he earn? So, same thing. I equals PRT. The principal, the starting amount, $10,000. The rate that he earns interest at is 5%. And then the time is 10 years. Remember, we have to change the rate to a decimal. This is probably going to be one of the most common mistakes made. So always, if you see a percent sign in your head, you need to think change to a decimal. So if we have 5, we take the decimal at the end of it, move it 2 places to the left. 0.05. So I equals 10,000 times 0.05 times 10. Plug it into your calculator and you should get $5,000. That's the amount of interest that Mr. Cohens would earn. That's a lot of money. Now, you need to realize that interest is the additional amount of money earned. It is not the total amount he has after 10 years. So the second question says, what is his total balance? In order to find the total balance, you have to add the principal plus the interest. So you have to add the original amount plus the extra amount. So the total equals I plus P. So what was his starting amount? We said that earlier. It's $10,000. And then how much interest did he earn? $5,000. The total is $15,000. So after 10 years, if Mr. Cohens checked his bank account, he would have $15,000. That's it for simple interest. It's really simple. All you have to do is make sure you label the principal, the rate, and the time. If you want to, you can write it on your paper. P equals, R equals, T equals. And that can help you keep organized, so you know exactly what to plug in. Or if you want to do it the way I did it, you can just look at the word problem and label each thing as it comes up. It's up to you, but make sure you should always have 3 things, and that is going to equal your interest when you multiply them all together. You have a practice problem about your savings account, so please do that before math workshop.